Silence is older than words. Like a newborn's first breath, it was here before us and will remain after. Hidden in its depths lies a mystery that has been sought for millennia. From cave shamans to neuroscientists with brain scanners, an invisible thread stretches across mountains of time. It connects the fire of a primitive hunter with a corporate office in Silicon Valley, an Egyptian hermit in the scorching desert, with a Japanese tea master in misty mountains, all who dared to look where thoughts end and something greater begins. This story is not about religion, not about philosophy, not about ancient texts yellowed with age. This is a tale of what happens when a person falls silent, so deeply that they hear their own heartbeat and suddenly understand between the beats lives eternity. Some called it enlightenment, others a meeting with God, still others brain neuroplasticity. But all spoke of one thing. There is a place inside us where neither the noise of the world nor the pain of time can penetrate. A place that can be found if you know how to search. Evening thickens slowly, like honey dripping from a spoon. Somewhere far away, cars hum, but this sound doesn't reach the place where we will now find ourselves. Here, time flows differently, unhurriedly, like the breathing of a sleeping child. The air smells of sandalwood and silence. Yes, silence has a scent, warm, enveloping, as ancient as the first sigh that escaped from a human chest when they first became aware of themselves. Now we will embark on a journey, not through space, but through time, to those moments when ordinary people discovered the extraordinary, when in the bustle of days, understanding suddenly flashed. There is something greater, deeper, quieter. Let your mind slow down, your breathing deepen. Let each word settle to consciousness like a snowflake on still water. We begin where it all started, by the fire, in darkness, when silence first sounded. Imagine, night descends upon the earth slowly, like a warm blanket. Somewhere in the depths of time, long before cities and writing, a human sits by a fire. Flames dance, sparks fly up to the stars. And suddenly, they hear what had always been nearby, but was lost in the day's bustle. Silence. Not empty silence, but living silence, full of earth's breathing, rustling leaves, the distant call of an owl, and their own heart beating steadily, calmly, as if counting moments of eternity. In this primitive quietude, something new is born, understanding that inside there is space, vast, quiet, one's own. You can feel this ancient human, how they close their eyes, how breathing becomes deeper, how the bustle of hunting and searching for food retreats, yielding to something more important, the moment when soul meets itself, without words, without thoughts, simply is. In caves they painted, not only mammoths and bison, but also strange signs, spirals, circles, lines that seem to lead somewhere inward. Archaeologists still wonder what these symbols mean. Perhaps they were the first maps of inner journey, attempts to capture what opens in silence. Shamans knew the secret. They went into forests, into mountains, to sacred places, sat motionless for days and nights, listened, not to external sounds, but to what sounds deeper than any words, the voice of earth, the song of wind, wisdom that comes only in silence. They returned with stories of other worlds, of spirits, of visions. But the most important thing they brought was peace. Deep, unshakable, as if silence itself had settled inside them. You know this feeling. When you sit in a forest and suddenly understand that you are not separate from trees, from sky, from the air you breathe. Everything is one. Everything flows in one stream. And you are part of this stream. Not small, not large, simply part. Our ancestors discovered this thousands of years ago, in times when time flowed differently, slower, more thoughtfully. They didn't know the word meditation, but they knew the state this word tries to describe. When mind falls silent, when body relaxes, when breathing becomes a teacher, showing life's rhythm. Inhale, life enters. Exhale, life is released. And in the pause between inhale and exhale, lives eternity. The fire burns down. Coals glow red in darkness. The ancient human opens their eyes. The world is the same, but something has changed inside. Knowledge has appeared, not in the head, in the heart, in every cell of the body. Knowledge that silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of everything, simultaneously, in harmony, in peace. This was the beginning, the first step on a path that would last millennia, the path inward, to that place in the soul where it's always quiet, where it's always peaceful, where answers to questions can be found that haven't yet ripened in the mind. Our ancestors gifted us this path, carved the trail, showed the direction to that source of silence that lives in each of us. Time flows. People spread across the earth, build first settlements by great rivers. The Indus carries its waters through fertile valleys. On its banks appear the first cities. Harappa, Mohenjo-daro. People learn agriculture, domesticate animals, create writing. But in their hearts still lives memory of that ancient silence. In the forests of India appear those who will later be called rishis, seers. They leave worldly bustle, build simple huts from branches and leaves, live simply, eat little, sleep on earth, and spend days in that same silence their distant ancestors discovered by the fire. But now this is not accidental discovery. This is conscious choice, purposeful seeking. You see them in pre-dawn twilight, sitting by the riverbank, backs straight, eyes closed, breathing slow, even. They are not simply resting. They are exploring, studying the map of consciousness, discovering what will later be called states of mind, layers of awareness, levels of being that ordinary people don't suspect. One of them notices the connection between breathing and state of mind. When breathing is fast, mind is restless. When slow, mind calms. They begin to experiment. Breathe in a certain way. Count inhalations and exhalations, and discover they can control their inner state. This discovery will change the world. Pranayama, the art of managing life energy through breath, is born. Another rishi notices that thoughts come and go like clouds in the sky. At first, they try to stop them, but understand, impossible to stop wind. You can only watch how it blows. Thus, vipassana, special seeing, is born. The skill of watching thoughts from aside, without getting involved, without judging, simply observing how they appear and dissolve in the space of consciousness. Knowledge accumulates, passes from teacher to student. Not through books, there aren't any yet. Through direct transmission, heart to heart, consciousness to consciousness. Thus the Vedas, ancient sacred texts, are born. In them are encoded not only prayers and rituals, but also maps of inner journey, descriptions of what awaits those who dare to look into the depths of their own consciousness. And far to the west, in the valley of the Nile, priests of Egyptian temples discover their secrets of silence. In underground chambers beneath pyramids, they spend nights in meditation. Prepare to meet gods. Study what they call the science of death and rebirth. Understand that death is not the end, but transition, and one who knows how to die in meditation during life doesn't fear real death. Their practices are strict. They purify the body, study movement of stars, read sacred texts, but most importantly, they learn to enter a state where soul separates from body, travels to other worlds, meets teachers who are not among the living, returns with knowledge that cannot be gained from books. Great rivers carry not only water, they carry wisdom, from teacher to student, from generation to generation. Silence, discovered by the primitive fire, takes form, becomes practice, science, art. A path anyone can follow who is ready to look inside themselves. Time flows, and in one of the small kingdoms in northern India, a boy is born. His father is a king. His mother dies in childbirth. Wise men predict he will become either a great ruler or a great teacher. The father tries to protect his son from the world's sufferings, builds 3 palaces for him, surrounds him with luxury, hides him from illness, old age, death. But truth cannot be hidden. At 29, Prince Siddhartha first leaves the palace walls and sees what will change his life forever. a sick person, an old man, a dead body, and a monk whose face glows with peace. This night he leaves the palace, his wife, his small son, wealth, power, everything. For 6 years he searches, studies with the best teachers of his time, goes through extreme asceticism, nearly dies from hunger, understands neither luxury nor self-torture leads to truth. There must be a middle way, a path between extremes. And then he comes to a small village. Bodhi sits under a spreading tree and makes a vow. I will not rise until I find the answer. You can imagine this moment. A young man of 35, exhausted by searching, but with unwavering determination in his eyes. He folds his legs in lotus position, straightens his back, places hands on knees, closes his eyes, and begins what will change humanity's fate. The first night brings doubts. A voice whispers, "Go home. Your wife and son are waiting there. Power, comfort. Why do you need these sufferings?" But he doesn't move, breathes calmly, watches doubts like clouds. They come, they go, and he remains. The second night brings desires, images of beautiful women, memories of luxurious feasts, music, dancing, everything that can tempt a person. But he understands these two are clouds, temporary phenomena in consciousness space. They have no power over one who simply observes. The third night brings fear. Fear of death. Fear of failure. Fear that the search will prove meaningless, that there is no truth, that humans are doomed to suffering. But fear, too, proves to be a cloud, passing, temporary, and behind all these clouds opens sky, pure, boundless, eternal. At dawn of the 49th day, something changes. Siddhartha opens his eyes, but these are no longer the eyes that closed 7 weeks ago. In them is light, understanding, peace not of this world. He rises, slowly, carefully, as if afraid to disturb the silence that now lives in him. The world is the same. The tree is the same. The earth under his feet is the same. But everything has changed. because he has changed, found what he had been seeking all his life, what every person seeks, even without knowing it: peace, wisdom, freedom from suffering, understanding of the true nature of being. Now he is called Buddha, the awakened one, the enlightened one, he who saw reality as it is, without illusions, without self-deception, without fears and desires that cloud clarity of vision. 7 weeks he sits under the tree, enjoys the found peace, unsure whether to share the discovery with the world. But compassion conquers doubts. He rises, goes to people, begins to teach, not imposing truth, but showing the way, the same way he walked himself, the path of observation, awareness, mindfulness to every moment, to every breath, to every thought, to every feeling. He calls this vipassana, special seeing, the skill of seeing things as they really are, not as one wants to see them, not as they seem they should be, but as they are, here, now, in this moment. Students gather around him, first 5, then dozens, hundreds, thousands. He teaches for 45 years, until death, shows that liberation is possible, that everyone can find the same peace he found. One only needs to sit, straighten the back, close eyes, and begin to observe. Breath enters, breath exits. Thoughts come, thoughts go. Feelings arise, feelings dissolve, and gradually, day by day, year by year, opens the same space of silence that ancient rishis found, that shamans discovered by the fire, that has always been here, inside, waiting only for one who decides to look. And far to the north, in lands where great rivers Huanghe and Yangtze carry their waters through endless plains, another understanding of silence is born. Here, among misty mountains and bamboo groves, appears a man whom history will remember as Lao Tzu, old teacher, sage who taught without words, showed truth through non-action. You see him in pre-dawn haze, sitting by a mountain lake, an elder with a long gray beard and eyes in which ancient wisdom lives, He doesn't meditate in the usual sense, doesn't count breaths, doesn't repeat mantras. He simply is, present like a stone by water, like a tree in wind, like a cloud in sky. Around him are students. They wait for words of wisdom, instructions, explanations of world's structure. But the old teacher is silent. For long, so long that some begin to fidget. Think, maybe he fell asleep. Maybe he forgot about them. But those who understand deeper know. Silence is the teaching, the deepest, the truest. When Lao Tzu finally speaks, his words are like dewdrops on morning grass, light, transparent, but in each drop reflects the whole sky. The way that cannot be named is not the true way. The name that can be spoken is not the true name. What can be grasped by mind is no longer the. He teaches Wu Wei, non-action, not inaction, as those who hear this word for the first time think, but action in harmony with life's natural flow. How a branch bends in wind but doesn't break. How water flows around stone but eventually wears it down. How a wise ruler rules without forcing, guides without violence. In China's mountains are places where mist never completely disperses. There live Taoist hermits who have accepted Lao Tzu's teaching so deeply they themselves have become like mist, elusive, present, and absent simultaneously. They build huts from stone and wood, grow tea, gather herbs, live in nature's rhythm. You can imagine their morning. Mist spreads over mountain slopes. First rays of sun break through pine branches. The Taoist rises before dawn. Not by alarm clock. People of that time have no internal clocks. But because the body itself knows when it's time to wake, they wash with cold water from a mountain stream, brew tea, sit on a flat stone before the hut, and their meditation begins, which doesn't resemble anything practiced in India. They don't concentrate on breathing, don't observe thoughts. They dissolve, become part of the morning landscape. Their breathing merges with forest's breathing, their heartbeat with earth's pulse. Boundaries between them and world disappear. This is Zuowang, sitting forgetting oneself as separate being, forgetting distinctions between inner and outer, between one's own and others, between right and wrong. Only flow remains. Tao, the way, that which cannot be named but can be felt, lived, become. Hours pass unnoticed. Sun rises higher. Mist disperses. Birds begin to sing. And the Taoist slowly returns to ordinary consciousness, as if surfacing from ocean depths. But something remains. That peace, that harmony, that understanding of unity of all existence. They rise, go to garden, water plants, gather herbs for medicines, prepare simple food, read ancient texts, but do all this differently, not like ordinary people who hurry, bustle, worry, but like those who know everything happens in its time, everything flows, everything changes, and wisdom is in flowing with the stream, not against it. In cities, meanwhile, another sage teaches another path to silence. Confucius, a man who believes in the power of education, ritual, right behavior. For him, meditation is not hermitage in mountains, but inner work among people, among daily affairs, among joys and sorrows of ordinary life. You see him in school, surrounded by students of different ages. He doesn't resemble a mysterious Taoist. This is a practical man. Who knows? Most people won't go to mountains. Will live in families, work, raise children, serve society. And for them, a different path to wisdom is needed. Path of ethics, humanity, inner perfection through right relationships with others. His meditation is called Fanxing, self-observation. He teaches to analyze each day, every evening. Remember actions, words, thoughts, not for self-flagellation, but for understanding, growth, improvement. How did I act? Why? What did I feel? How can I do better tomorrow? This, too, is meditation. Different, but leading to the same goal, to inner peace, to wisdom, to understanding one's nature. Confucius knows not all will find truth in empty mountains. Many will find it in serving people, in caring for family, in just governance, in teaching, in art, in any activity performed with full presence, with awareness, with love. Chinese wisdom is like a river with two channels. One, Taoist, leads to dissolution in nature, to unity with Tao, to understanding that the best action is often non-action. The other, Confucian, leads to harmony in society, to ethical perfection, to understanding that humans are social beings, and their path to wisdom lies through right relationships with other people. But both channels lead to one sea, to silence, to peace, to wisdom. The Taoist finds it in unity with nature, the Confucian in unity with humanity. Both are right. Both are wrong. Because truth is greater than any teaching, deeper than any words, wider than any concepts. Centuries pass. Chinese wisdom spreads, mixes with Buddhism coming from India. Chan is born, a special direction that will later come to Japan under the name Zen. But that's another story. For now, know. In China's misty mountains still sit Taoists, still dissolve in morning mist, still find silence in non-action. And this silence is the same that rishis discovered by Ganges, that Buddha found under the tree, that every person seeks, even without knowing it. Meanwhile, thousands of miles to the west, in hot sands of another continent, yet another tradition of silence is born. In Egyptian desert, where sun burns away everything superfluous, where silence is not metaphor, but physical reality, where you can walk for days and not meet a single person. There go first Christian hermits, seeking God in quietude. You feel this desert. Endless sands that heat up during day so much you could fry eggs on stones, and at night cool so much you need to wrap in cloak. Air is dry, transparent. Stars hang so low it seems you could touch them. And silence, absolute, that rings in ears. Here comes Anthony, a young man who heard Christ's words in church. If you want to be perfect, go, sell your possessions and give to the poor. And went, literally, sold everything, gave to poor, and went to desert, to seek God where there's nothing but sand, sky, and one's own soul. First years are hard. Desert is merciless, scorching sun by day, cold by night, meager food, water that must be treasured like jewels, and most importantly, temptations, not external ones, those remained in world, but internal, doubts, fears, memories of former life, desires that seem to have died but suddenly resurrect with new force. But Anthony doesn't give up. He prays. Not like in church, where there are icons, candles, other people, but one-on-one with God. In emptiness that gradually stops being empty, fills with presence. The same presence Taoists call Tao, Buddhists Buddha nature, and Christians call God. His prayer is simple. Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner. One phrase, repeated again and again, first with lips, then in mind, then with heart, until it begins to repeat itself, without effort, like breathing, like heartbeat, like life itself. People begin to come to him, first curious, then seeking, then those ready to stay, learn, live the same life. Thus in desert appear first monasteries, not buildings, those will be built later, but communities of people united by one search, one aspiration, to find God in silence of their own hearts. Each day begins before dawn. Common prayer, reading sacred texts, then hours of solitude, each in their cell. Someone weaves baskets, someone copies books, someone simply sits, is silent, listens to silence, waits for a voice not of this world to sound in it. This is hesychia, silence, peace, quiet in which God lives. Not philosophical concept, but living experience, something that can be lived, felt, become. Hesychasts, those who practice hesychia, know God cannot be found in noise, in bustle, in many words. He can be found only in silence, in peace, in that place of heart where all voices fall silent except one. They develop a technique that will live for millennia. Jesus' prayer connected with breathing. On inhale, Lord Jesus Christ. On exhale, have mercy on me, a sinner. Breathing becomes prayer. Prayer becomes breathing, Boundaries between body and soul blur. Entire human being becomes single appeal to God. Hours pass, days, years, and gradually prayer descends from head to heart, begins to sound there constantly, like underwater current, like quiet song that never stops. Person can talk with others, work, eat, sleep, but prayer continues in depths, in heart silence. This is not repetition of words. This is state. God's presence in human. Human's presence in God. What cannot be conveyed in words can only be experienced. And one who has experienced knows. They found what they sought all life, peace that surpasses all understanding, silence in which eternity sounds. Desert teaches harshly, but fairly, removes everything superfluous, leaves only essence, and in this essence, person finds themselves, real, not social mask, not role played in world, but God's image that was hidden under layers of conventions, habits, fears, desires. Hesychasm spreads. From Egyptian desert moves to Byzantium, to Mount Athos, to Russia. Everywhere, people are ready to look into depths of their own hearts. Find there that silence in which God Himself lives. The same silence shamans discovered by fire, rishis by sacred rivers, Buddha under tree, Taoists in misty mountains. One silence, one peace, one truth. Each tradition has its words, its methods, its images, but essence is one. And even further west, in lands where three great religions meet, is born a tradition that will show silence can be found not only in stillness, but also in movement, not only in quietude, but also in music, not only in solitude, but also in unity with other seekers. This is Sufism, Islam's mystical heart. Sufis know Allah is not only transcendent, inaccessible, distant, but also immanent, close, present in everything, in every atom, in every breath, in every movement of heart. And path to Him lies not through denial of world, but through love for God, for people, for all creation. you see them in evening twilight, gathering in circle on square, or in teacher's house, or under open sky, men in simple white robes, eyes closed, faces expressing deep concentration and joy. Yes, joy. Because for Sufi, meeting with God is not heavy labor, but celebration. Return home to beloved. Music begins. Simple melody of flute, drum beats, voices singing Allah's names. La ilaha illa Allah. There is no God but Allah. Simple words, but in them all essence. Nothing real exists except God. Everything else is dream, illusion, play of light and shadow on eternity's wall. And they begin to whirl, slowly, rhythmically, left hand lowered to earth, right raised to heaven. They become conductors. Through them, divine energy descends from heavens to earth, and earthly rises to heavens. They whirl for hours, enter state of ecstasy, dissolution, union with beloved. This is Sama, spiritual dance, meditation in movement, path to God through body, through rhythm, through music, through love that overflows heart and spills into movement. Each turn is prayer, each step approach to truth, each breath sigh of separated one who rushes to beloved. In 13th century, in city of Konya, lives man who will become greatest Sufi poet of all times, Jalaluddin Rumi, scholar, jurist, respected citizen. But everything changes when he meets wandering dervish shams, man in whose eyes burn fire of divine love. 40 days they spend together, speak of God, of love, of path to truth. No one knows what happened in that room. But when Rumi emerges, he's already different person. Fire that burned in Shams now burns in him too, consumes everything worldly, leaves only love, mad, all-consuming, divine. Shams disappears. As suddenly as he appeared, Rumi searches for him, goes to Damascus, to Baghdad, but understands Shams was not just human, was mirror in which Rumi saw his true face, divine nature that lives in every heart. and then from his chest begin to pour verses, not ordinary verses, but flaming hymns of love, calls to beloved, maps of path to divine union. Listen to reed's whisper. It complains of separation. Since I was cut from reed field, my cry makes men and women weep. Anyone who remains far from source yearns for return to time of union. I sob at every gathering, with sorrowful and with joyful. Each thinks they befriended me because of their notions. None seeks my secrets in me. These lines will open his great poem, Masnavi, Spiritual Encyclopedia of Sufism, Map of Human Soul, Story of Path from Separation to Unity, from illusion to reality, from human love to divine. Rumi knows every person is like that reed, torn from source, suffers from separation, and all life is search for way home, to beloved. His students found order of Mevlevi, whirling dervishes. They develop Sama to perfection, turn dance into precise science, into prayer of Bodhi, into path to ecstasy. Each movement has meaning. Each gesture is symbol. Entire Sama tells story of soul's journey from this world to divine world. They whirl in tall felt caps, symbols of tombstones, in wide white skirts, symbols of shrouds, die to world, born to God, and in whirling find same silence hesychasts find in quietude, that Taoists find in non-action, that Buddhists find in observation. One silence, different paths to it. Sufism shows there's no one right way to find God. Someone finds him in desert solitude, someone in communion with like-minded, someone in silence, someone in music, someone in stillness, someone in dance. Important is not how you seek, but how sincerely, how completely, how ready to dissolve in search. Dervishes know love is stronger than reason. Heart sees farther than eyes. And shortest path to God lies through complete dissolution in him. Fana, ego's disappearance, death to self, birth in God. And in this they are brothers to Christian mystics, Buddhist monks, Taoist hermits. All seek one, find one, become one. For centuries, Sufi orders spread throughout Islamic world. Each develops its methods, its practices, its paths to divine union, but essence remains one: love, dissolution, return to source, to that state when soul was still united with God, before separation, before fall, before exile to world of multiplicity and illusions. Meanwhile, across seas and mountains, on islands where rising sun meets mist, is born tradition that will bring art of silence to perfection. Japan, country where every gesture can become meditation, where beauty and simplicity merge into single whole, where silence is valued more than many words. Buddhism comes to Japan not immediately, first through Korea, then directly from China, brings with it not only Buddha's teaching, but also Chinese Chan, that tradition born from meeting of Buddhist wisdom with Taoist simplicity. In Japan, this tradition receives new name, Zen, and new depth. You see ship approaching Japanese shore in 13th century. On board young monk named Dogen. He spent 4 years in Chinese monasteries, studied Chan, practiced sitting meditation, and now returns home with treasure, not gold, not precious stones, but knowledge of how to sit, simply sit, and in this sitting find everything. Dogen founds monastery Aiheiji in mountains of Fukui Prefecture, place where mist spreads between pines year-round, where sound of bamboo clapper cuts morning silence, where each day begins at 3:30 in morning with bells strike, not sharp, soft, as if eternity itself reminds of itself. Monks rise, quickly, soundlessly. Years of practice made their movements like water's flow, natural, economical. Each gesture has meaning, each action performed with full presence. They dress, wash, go to meditation hall, zendo. This is special place, empty, simple, wooden floors polished to shine, mats laid in precise rows, Buddha statue in corner, not luxurious, simple, as reminder of one who showed the way. Monks sit facing wall, in lotus or half lotus position. Straighten backs. Place hands in special mudra. Close eyes, or leave half open, gazing at point on floor. And begins shikantaza. Just sitting. Not to achieve enlightenment. Not to stop thoughts. Not to get special states. Simply to sit. Because sitting itself is enlightenment. Buddha nature manifests not when you do something with mind, but when you allow it to be as it is, natural, unclouded by efforts. This is revolution in understanding meditation. Until now, it was thought, need to purify mind of thoughts, achieve special state, get illumination. Dogen says, all this is already here. Sitting is awakening. Practice is realization. No need to become Buddha. You already are Buddha. Need only sit and allow this nature to manifest. Hours pass in silence. Sometimes bell sounds. Sign you can stand. Stretch. Slowly walk around hall. Then sit again. Again immerse in shikantaza, in this simple presence, in this ordinary extraordinariness of moment when nothing happens. And precisely therefore, everything happens. After morning meditation, work. But not ordinary work, but samu, work as meditation. Sweeping yard performed with same attentiveness as sitting. Preparing rice with same concentration. Washing clothes with same presence. No division into sacred and mundane. Everything is sacred. Everything can become path to awakening. Dogen writes, Shobogenzo, treasury of true, Dharma I, text that will become foundation of Japanese Zen. In it, he explains, path is not to escape from ordinariness, but to find extraordinary in ordinary, sacredness in simple, depth in superficial. Water is water, mountain is mountain. But when understanding deepens, water stops being simply water. Mountain, simply mountain. And when understanding becomes complete, water again becomes water. Mountain, mountain. But now this is different water, different mountain, permeated with light of awakening. Zen spreads through Japan, finds new forms, new expressions. Tea ceremony appears. Sado, way of tea. What began as simple guest treatment becomes meditation. Art, way to find perfection in imperfect world. You enter tea house, bow, passing through low door. Nijiriguchi, crawling entrance, symbol of humility, leaving worldly cares beyond threshold. Inside, everything is simple. Floor of straw mats. Tokonoma, alcove where hangs scroll with calligraphy or stands flower. One, single, but perfect. Host prepares tea, slowly, precisely. Each movement polished by years of practice. They take bamboo spoon, scoop green tea powder, pour into bowl, pour hot water, whisk with bamboo whisk until foam forms. Turn bowl, offer to guest. Guest receives bowl, examines it. This is not just utensil. This is artwork, but special art, not perfect. Wabi-sabi, beauty in imperfection, in asymmetry, in traces of time. Crack in glaze is not flaw, but part of beauty, story told by clay. Tea is drunk slowly, savoring each sip, bitterness, sweetness, warmth. All sensations are bright, sharpened by attentiveness. This is not just tea drinking. This is meeting with self, with moment, with beauty, with imperfection that is true perfection. After tea, silence, not awkward, full, saturated. In it sounds everything. Rustle of bamboo outside window, bubbling of water in kettle, breathing of those present, silence that is not empty, but full of presence, of moment, of eternity contained in hour. Samurai accept Zen especially deeply. For them, this is not only spiritual practice, but also preparation for death. Warrior must be ready to die at any moment. And this readiness is born not from despair, but from understanding. Death is part of life, like inhale is part of breathing. Nothing to fear, nothing to avoid. They practice death meditation. Sit in meditation and imagine their death in battle, from illness, from old age. Live it mentally, again and again until fear disappears. Acceptance remains, readiness, peace before face of inevitable. This is not gloominess. This is wisdom. One who has accepted death truly lives. Each moment becomes precious, each breath a gift, each day opportunity to serve. One's Lord, one's family, one's path, without attachment to result, without fear of consequences. Haiku is born. Poems of 17 syllables. 5, 7, 5. Seems too little for poetry. But Zen teaches. In dewdrop reflects entire world. In short, poem can fit entire universe. Basho writes about frog jumping into pond. Just few words, but in them entire essence of Zen. Moment, sound, silence, and understanding that comes suddenly, like water splash, like clap of one hand. Old pond, frog jumped, water splash, 3 lines, but in them entire universe, old pond symbol of ancient wisdom, motionless, deep, frog living being, movement, life, jump action, decision, choice, splash result, consequence, and then again, silence, but already different, enriched by event. Japanese Zen reaches perfection in simplicity. Rock garden in Ryoan-ji. 15 stones on white sand. Nothing more. But visitors sit for hours. Watch. Meditate. Each sees their own. Mountains, islands, tigress with cubs, or simply stones. Doesn't matter. Important is mind state. Silence, peace, presence. Time flows. Japan closes from world for 250 years. Zen deepens, purifies, crystallizes, becomes not just religion, but way of life. Art of finding beauty in simple, depth in everyday, perfection in imperfect. And then borders open. West meets east, and begins new chapter in meditation's history. Ancient wisdom meets modern world. Silence found in temples and monasteries comes out to city streets, factories, universities, hospitals. Everywhere, people seek peace, meaning, themselves. 20th century. World changes at speed unknown to previous generations. Steam engines, cars, airplanes, radio, telephone. Human conquers space, time, matter, but in soul's depths remains the same, seeking, suffering, thirsting for peace. And precisely when world becomes especially restless, it discovers ancient wisdom of East. First teachers come to America at end of 19th century. Swami Vivekananda speaks in Chicago at World Parliament of Religions in 1893. Speaks of yoga, of meditation, of unity of all religions. Hall rises, applauds. Western world first hears of Eastern wisdom, not from missionaries or scholars, but from teachers themselves. But real breakthrough happens after World War II. America occupies Japan. Soldiers return home with stories of strange temples where people sit motionless for hours. Look at walls and find peace in this. Books about Zen begin to be translated into English. Alan Watts writes, "The Way of Zen." Daisetsu Suzuki lectures in American universities. Youth of 50s seeks alternative to materialism, conformism, Cold War, and finds it in Eastern teachings. Beatniks discover Zen. Jack Kerouac writes, "The Dharma Bums," novel about young Americans seeking enlightenment in California mountains. Allen Ginsberg meditates, writes poetry under influence of Buddhist wisdom. You see them in 50s San Francisco, North Beach coffee shops, young people in black sweaters, reading poetry, talking about Zen, trying to understand what Satori is. Instant enlightenment. They don't always understand correctly. Often romanticize, simplify. But most importantly, they seek, are open, ready for new. Gary Snyder goes to Japan, studies in Zen monastery, returns real teacher, shows Zen is not exotica, not fashion, but serious practice, requiring discipline, patience, constancy, daily sitting, daily return to silence. 60s, bring new wave. Hippies discover India. LSD expands consciousness. shows possibilities unknown before. But chemical enlightenment proves temporary, unstable, dangerous. And then many turn to meditation, to yoga, to natural ways of changing consciousness. Maharishi, Mahesh Yogi, comes to America, teaches transcendental meditation, simple technique, accessible to everyone. No need to become monk, leave family, go to mountains. Enough to meditate 20 minutes, morning, 20 evening, and life will change. Mind becomes calmer, health better, relationships more harmonious. Beatles go to Maharishi in India, learn meditation, write songs under influence of Eastern wisdom. Entire Western culture begins to change. Yoga studios open in every city. Books about meditation become bestsellers. Zen centers appear from New York to Los Angeles. But there are problems too. Eastern wisdom comes to Western world not always in pure form, mixes with commerce, charlatanism, superficial understanding. Fake gurus appear, sects, promises of quick enlightenment for money. Real teachers get lost among fakes. Gradually, situation improves. Serious teachers arrive. Seung San founds Zen school in America, teaches strictly, without compromises, shows path to awakening is not easy, requires entire life, entire self, but possible here in Western world, among skyscrapers and cars. Thich Nhat Hanh brings Vietnamese Zen, gentle, understandable, applicable in daily life. He teaches mindful walking, mindful breathing, mindful dishwashing. Shows meditation is not escape from life, but way to live deeper, fuller, more consciously. Joseph Goldstein and Jack Kornfield found Insight Meditation Society. Teach Vipassana, Buddhist practice of mindfulness, adapted for Western mind, without religious dogmas, without rituals, simply technique, way to observe reality as it is. 80s and 90s consolidate gains. Meditation stops being exotic, becomes part of mainstream. Doctors recommend it for stress reduction. Psychologists use in therapy. Business people meditate to increase efficiency. Athletes for better results. But most importantly, meditation returns to its roots, to simplicity, to silence, to understanding ancient sages discovered that happiness is not in achievements, not in possessions, not in external circumstances, but in ability to be here, now, in this moment, in this breath, in this silence that has always been with us. Meanwhile, in laboratories and universities begins completely new chapter in meditation's history. Scientists take electroencephalographs, tomographs, measuring instruments, and begin to study what for millennia was matter of faith, inner experience, mystical revelation. What happens to brain during meditation? How consciousness changes? Can enlightenment be measured? You are in Harvard University laboratory, quiet humming of instruments, soft glow of monitors. On couch lies Buddhist monk, head wrapped in electrodes, eyes closed, face calm. He meditates, and instruments record what happens in his brain. Every flash of activity, every rhythm change, every wave of electrical activity. This is revolution. First time in history, science can look inside meditating consciousness, see what happens at level of neurons, synapses, electrical impulses, and results astonish even skeptics. Meditating brain really works differently, changes structurally, functionally, sometimes forever. Richard Davidson from University of Wisconsin studies Tibetan monks, people who spent tens of thousands of hours in meditation. Results are fantastic. Level of gamma waves in their brains 40 times higher than normal. Activity in areas connected with compassion and empathy off the charts. They literally radiate love at cellular level. Sarah Lazar from Massachusetts Hospital discovers meditation changes brain structure, increases cortex thickness in areas responsible for attention and sensory processing, reduces amygdala size, center of fear and aggression. 8-week mindfulness meditation course gives changes visible on tomograph. This is not philosophy, not religion, not faith. These are facts, measurable, repeatable, verifiable. Meditation works, changes brain. improves health, boosts immunity, reduces inflammation, slows aging at cellular level. Ancient sages were right, but now we know why. John Kabat-Zinn creates stress reduction program based on mindfulness, MBSR, 8-week course you can take in hospital, secular meditation, without religious elements, only technique. Results are impressive. Patients with chronic pain feel better. People with depression recover faster. Anxiety decreases. Quality of life improves. Program spreads worldwide. Hospitals, schools, prisons, corporations. Everywhere, people suffer from stress, from pain, from anxiety. Meditation stops being esoteric practice, becomes medical procedure, as evidence-based as taking medicine, only without side effects. Scientists study different types of meditation: concentration on breathing, repeating mantras, loving kindness meditation. Each affects brain differently, activates different areas, causes different changes, but all lead to one result: greater peace, clarity, compassion, wisdom. Elizabeth Blackburn receives Nobel Prize for discovering telomerase, enzyme affecting cell aging. Her research shows meditation activates telomerase, slows telomere, shortening. At cellular level, meditators age slower, live longer, get sick less often. Neuroplasticity, brain's ability to change, becomes key concept. Brain is not fate structure. It changes throughout life, depending on what we do, how we think. Meditation is one of most powerful forces capable of changing brain for better, at any age, in any time. Child monks in Tibet show phenomenal results in attention tests: emotional regulation, compassion. They grew up in meditation culture. Their brains formed under its influence. Result? People with extraordinarily developed abilities for concentration, love, wisdom. But no need to be monk. Research shows even few weeks of practice give noticeable changes. Few months, cardinal ones. Few years, personality transformation. Meditation is available to everyone, at any age, in any circumstances. New science is born: contemplative neuroscience. Scientist meditators study their own consciousness states, using instruments, strict methods, statistical analysis. First-time subjective experience becomes object of scientific research. Inner and outer merge in unified search for truth. Dalai Lama collaborates with scientists, calls for studying meditation, understanding its mechanisms. If science proves some aspects of Buddhism wrong, Buddhism should change. Truth is more important than tradition. Understanding more important than faith. Science and contemplation are allies in search for what really works. Results accumulate. Published in most prestigious journals: Nature, Science, Neuron. Meditation stops being matter of faith, becomes matter of knowledge, measurable, verifiable, reproducible, but doesn't lose its depth, beauty, ability to transform life. Ancient sages found path to silence intuitively. Modern scientists confirm its effectiveness experimentally. Meeting of wisdom and knowledge, experience and understanding, heart and mind. In this meeting is born new understanding of human possibilities and hope for future where suffering is not inevitability, but problem that can be solved. And here we come to our time, to 21st century, when millennial traditions meet digital technologies, when ancient wisdom is packaged in smartphone apps, when meditation becomes available to anyone ready to press download button. Time of paradoxes, time of possibilities. You walk through modern city, skyscrapers stretch to sky, cars crawl in traffic jams, people hurry on sidewalks, buried in phones, noise, bustle, stress. Seems there's no place for silence here, but look closer. In this chaos, something new is born. New forms of ancient wisdom, new ways to find peace amid restlessness. In corporate office, employees gather in conference room, not for meeting, for meditation. Turn off phones, sit comfortably, close eyes. 20 minutes of silence amid workday. This is not religious practice. This is investment in productivity, in health, in quality of life. Google, Apple, Nike, dozens of companies implement meditation. Understand, happy employees work better. Mindfulness programs adapt to corporate culture. Remove everything religious, mystical, esoteric. Essence remains. Technique, way to train attention, manage stress, develop emotional intelligence, ancient wisdom in modern packaging, Buddhism without Buddha, Zen without Zen, but with same result: peace, clarity, presence. In schools appear mindfulness lessons. Children learn to breathe consciously, notice their emotions, not react impulsively. This is not traditional education. This is preparation for life. In a world where there's too much information, where distractions are countless, where ability to concentrate becomes superpower. Teacher leads class of third graders. Children sit at desks, eyes closed. Breathe with bellies. Count breaths. Just 5 minutes. But these 5 minutes change classroom atmosphere. Children become calmer, more attentive, kinder to each other. Conflicts happen less. Learning goes more effectively. This is investment in future. Children who learn meditation in school grow up more stress-resistant, better cope with emotions, develop empathy, compassion, wisdom, qualities needed in any profession, any relationship, any life. In hospitals, meditation becomes part of treatment. Patients with chronic pain learn mindfulness meditation. Not so pain disappears, but to change attitude to it. Accept it. Not resist. Find peace even in suffering. Results are astonishing. Pain doesn't disappear, but suffering decreases. Quality of life improves. Cancer patients meditate before chemotherapy. Reduce anxiety. Side effects: depression. People with heart disease use meditation to lower pressure. Stress. Risk of repeat heart attack. Ancient wisdom becomes modern medicine. Vipassana. Centers open worldwide. Secular retreats, where people of different professions, different beliefs, different ages come to learn to see reality as it is, without filters, without distortions, without desires and fears that cloud perception. 10 days of silence. 10 hours of meditation daily. Intensive mind training. You sit in hall with 100 other people, all silent, eyes closed, backs straight, on cushions, on chairs, however they can. Teacher guides meditation, voice calm, measured. Observe sensations in body. Don't evaluate, don't analyze. Simply observe how they arise, how they change, how they disappear. First days are hard. Mind rebels. Thoughts spin like mad monkeys. Body aches. Want to get up. Leave. Return to familiar bustle. But gradually, something changes. Mind calms. Body relaxes. Begin to see what was always here, but remained unnoticed. Stream of sensations, thoughts, emotions, and one who observes all this. By retreat's end, understanding comes itself, not through books, not through lectures, but through direct experience. You are not your thoughts, not your emotions, not your sensations. You are one who observes them. Silence, space of awareness, that which never was born, never will die, always was, always will be. Zen centers adapt to Western lifestyle. No need to become monk. Shave head, wear robes, can come in ordinary clothes. Meditate for hour. Go home. To family. To work. To ordinary life. But already changed. With peace of silence in heart. Saturday morning, Zendo fills with people. Programmers, doctors, teachers, retirees, students, all different, but united by one search. Sit facing wall, as Dogen taught 700 years ago. Shikantaza, just sitting, without goal, without expectations. Simply be here, now. Bell sound. Sitting begins. 40 minutes of silence. Then 10 minutes slow walking. Kinhin. Another 40 minutes sitting. Brief teacher talk. And disperse. Until next Saturday. But something remains. Silence. That goes with them. To offices. To homes. To relationships. Transcendental meditation becomes global movement. Simple technique. Repeating personal mantra. 20 minutes morning. 20 evening. Without effort. Without concentration. Mind itself finds silence. Immerses in it, rests, recovers, millions worldwide practice. From school children to CEOs, scientific research confirms effectiveness, stress reduction, health improvement, creativity increase, intelligence development, TM taught in schools, hospitals, prisons. Everywhere people suffer from stress, anxiety, where peace is needed, clarity, wisdom. Digital technologies revolutionize meditation. Smartphone apps make ancient wisdom available to everyone. Headspace, Calm, Insight, Timer, millions of downloads, meditations for any taste, any time, any problem. Hard to fall asleep? There's meditation for sleep. Work stress? 5-minute office practice. Relationship problems? Loving kindness. Meditation. You take out phone. Launch app. Choose meditation. Instructor's voice is gentle, clear. Guides step by step. Focus on breathing. When mind wanders, gently return attention. Don't fight thoughts. Simply notice them and let go. Like clouds in sky. They come, they go, but sky remains. Artificial intelligence personalizes meditation, analyzes your state, mood, stress level, suggests exactly the practice needed now. Virtual reality transports to Tibetan monasteries, Japanese gardens, Indian ashrams. Without leaving home, can meditate in most sacred places on planet. Neurofeedback shows brain activity in real time. See how thoughts affect brain waves, how meditation changes activity patterns. Gamification turns practice into engaging journey. Achievements, levels, statistics, ancient wisdom in game form. But technologies are only tools. Essence remains the same. Silence, presence, awareness. What shamans sought by fire. Rishis in forests, Buddha under tree. Same questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What is happiness? How to find peace? And same answers. In silence, in presence, in this moment. Meditation penetrates most unexpected spheres. Athletes use it to improve results. Olympic champions meditate before competitions. Tune in. enter flow state, where there are no thoughts, only action, pure, spontaneous, perfect. Artists find inspiration, source in meditation. Musicians develop hearing. Writers, mental clarity. Actors, presence. Ability to be here, now. Enroll in moment, without falseness, without acting, with full dedication. Politicians meditate for wise decisions, judges for impartiality, doctors for compassion, teachers for patience, parents for understanding. Meditation doesn't solve all problems, but gives tool, way to remain centered, wise, compassionate in any circumstances. Social networks create global communities of meditators. People share experience, support each other, meditate together online. Boundaries blur. Nationalities, religions, social status. Main thing remains. Common search, common aspiration for silence, for wisdom, for understanding. Scientific research continues. New mechanisms of meditation's impact discovered. On genes, on immune system, on longevity, on relationships, on society. Meditating parents raise more emotionally stable children. Meditating leaders make wiser decisions. Meditating communities are more harmonious, compassionate, peaceful. But in this abundance of forms and methods, easy to get lost. Which to choose? Vipassana or Zen? Transcendental meditation or mindfulness? App or real teacher? Group classes or solitary practice? Questions multiply, but answer remains simple. Any. Main thing is start. Sit. Close eyes. Observe breathing. Thoughts. Silence between them. Because meditation is not in technique, not in tradition, not in teacher. Meditation is in you, in your ability to be here, now, attentively, compassionately, wisely. This ability doesn't need development. It already exists. Need only remember, recognize, allow to manifest. Millennia of searching, thousands of traditions, millions of practitioners, and all roads lead to one, to silence, which is not absence of sound, but presence of everything, simultaneously, in harmony, in unity, in love, to that state that always was, that always will be, that is, right now, here, in this breath, in this moment, in this silence, sounding deeper than all words. And here we come to end of our journey, passed through millennia, visited different countries, different peoples, met sages and simple people, ancient teachers and modern scientists. All sought one and found one. What you can find right now, without getting up, without reading books, without studying techniques, simply stopping and looking inside. Because meditation is not what you do, it's what you are, not practice, but nature, not achievement, but recognition of who you really are, under all masks, roles, stories you tell about yourself, under all thoughts, emotions, desires, fears. Deeper than all this lives silence, pure, unstained, free. You sit somewhere now, reading these words, breathing, heart beating, blood flowing through veins, thoughts coming and going, sounds reaching from outside, life flowing its course. And in center of all this movement is stillness. In center of all sounds, silence. In center of all thoughts, space of awareness, you. Not the you who thinks, who plans, who worries about future or regrets past, but one who observes all this, who is present here, now, always, who never was born, never will die, who is life itself, awareness itself, love itself. This you cannot achieve, can only recognize. Remember, this is not journey to unknown, but return home to what always was with you, always will be, your true nature, your authentic face, before parents' birth, after body's death, eternal, immortal, perfect. Ancient rishis knew this. Buddha experienced this. Lao Tzu pointed to this. Christian mystics dissolved in this. Sufis danced this. Zen masters embodied this. Modern scientists study this. But knowing about this doesn't mean being this. Studying doesn't mean experiencing. Understanding with mind doesn't mean feeling with heart. Therefore, all techniques, all methods, all traditions are only pointers, fingers pointing at moon. Important is not technique. Important is what it points to, not finger, but moon, not meditation, but what opens in meditation, your true nature, silence, peace, love, which are not of this world, but constitute world's essence. You can meditate hour daily, can 10 minutes, can 1 minute, can 1 breath. Doesn't matter. Important is quality of presence, sincerity of search, heart's openness, readiness to let go everything unnecessary and allow to manifest what is always here. You can sit in lotus position, can on chair, can lying, can standing, can while walking, while eating, while doing any activity. Meditation is not posture, not place, not time. Meditation is quality of awareness, which you can bring to any activity, any moment. When washing dishes, wash dishes completely. Feel warm water, slippery suds, cool plate in hands. Be here, in this simple action, and it becomes meditation, sacred ritual, path to presence. When walking down street, walk. Feel feet touching ground, air entering lungs, sun on face, or rain, or wind. Be here, in this step, in this breath, and walking becomes pilgrimage to your own heart. When talking with another person, listen. Really, don't prepare answer in mind. Don't judge. Don't evaluate. Simply be present with open heart, and conversation becomes meeting, soul to soul, heart to heart, silence to silence. Because silence is not what happens when sounds stop. Silence is background on which all sounds sound, not what comes when thoughts stop, but space in which all thoughts appear. Not state to be achieved, but what you are, always, here, now. All great teachers pointed to this simple presence, with different words, different methods, different traditions, but essence is one. You already are what you seek, already home, already free, already perfect. Need only stop, listen to silence that speaks without words, loves without conditions, accepts without exceptions. This is not philosophy, not concept, not idea. This is living reality, which you can feel right now. Put hand on heart. Feel its beating. Between beats is pause, silence. This is it, your true nature, always beating in chest, always breathing in lungs, always present, here, now. Take deep breath, slow exhale, and another. In this breathing is all meditation, all techniques, all traditions, all teachers, because breathing is life, and life is meditation, not practice of life, but life itself, living, breathing, aware, loving. Millennial search ends here, in this moment, in this breath, in this silence that never began, never will end. That is Alpha and Omega, beginning and end, path and goal, seeker and sought. You, true, eternal, free, home, finally home.